Has this ever happened to you? You're sitting across from her, maybe at a bar or coffee shop, and she leans in just slightly, lets her fingers play with the rim of her glass. Eyes flick up at you for half a second too long, and for a brief moment, something inside you flickers, but you don't trust it. You hesitate, you second guess, you don't act, and when the moment passes, it's gone. Not just her attraction, your confidence too. What's worse is you don't even know what you missed. You just feel like a fool for feeling anything at all. This is where most men lose the game. Not because they're blind, not because they're weak, but because they've been taught to ignore the very instincts that were meant to protect them, guide them, and drive them. You were told to be nice, to be respectful, to be patient. But what they didn't tell you, what no one had the balls to say, is that attraction is never polite. It's primal, and her body knows it long before her mouth says a word. When a woman wants you, her body doesn't ask permission. It signals, subtly, quietly, but powerfully. If you don't know how to read those signals, you will live your life misreading hesitation as disinterest and interest as friendliness. You'll think she rejected you when in reality, she was waiting, silently begging for you to notice. You see, women live in a world where expressing open desire can be dangerous. That's not exaggeration, that's evolutionary memory. For centuries, women have been conditioned to communicate attraction without ever risking reputation or rejection. That's why her body language is never obvious. It's plausible deniability wrapped in a smile. And if you don't know what to look for, you'll miss it. Again and again. Until one day you start believing women just aren't into you, that you're invisible, that there's something wrong with you. But the truth is more brutal and more freeing. Women are signaling all the time, but most men are too distracted, too wounded, or too afraid to see it. When she plays with her hair, when her knee points toward you, when her laugh lands just a little too hard at your joke, she's not just being friendly. She's testing to see if you see her, not just physically, but sexually. Do you understand what it means when a woman licks her lips while looking at you? Do you grasp what's behind the way she mirrors your body posture? What it really means when her voice drops just a little in pitch when she speaks your name? These aren't random, these aren't cute. These are ancient biological signals of interest. Dilated pupils, exposed neck, increased blink rate, slight sway of the hips when she walks away. Her body knows what her mind hasn't verbalized yet. And if you can't see it, you're not just missing a signal, you're missing who she is underneath the mask. But here's where it gets dangerous, because once you start learning these signs, you realize something that most men don't want to admit. You start seeing just how often a woman's body says yes, while her words say maybe or even no. You start to realize how much attraction she feels and denies. And if you're not grounded in self-respect, you'll fall into one of two traps, the predator or the pleaser. The predator sees every signal as permission. He pushes past boundaries. He takes interest as entitlement. But he's blind in another way. He can't tell when the signal fades, when her body says no, when the desire is gone. He's just as lost as the nice guy, just louder about it. Then there's the pleaser, the one who notices her signs but refuses to act. He second guesses. He waits. He overthinks. He asks her if it's okay over and over until her desire turns to disgust. She was attracted to his confidence, but he traded it for approval. And once a man begs for permission, he kills the very tension that made her want him in the first place. You can't fake this. You can't script it. You can't watch 5 TikToks about body language and become the kind of man women crave. You have to reconnect with something much older, much deeper, your instinct, the part of you that sees, that notices the heat in her glance, that hears the breath catch in her throat when you stand close. that understands without words when her body shifts from casual to open, from cold to inviting, from safe to wanting. But that instinct has been buried under shame, under rejection, under years of being told that your attraction makes you a threat. You've been trained to suppress the very part of you that reads the room like an animal senses prey. And now, when you finally feel that electric moment, the eye contact that lingers, the sudden flush in her cheeks, you doubt yourself. You look away, and just like that, the window closes. She moves on. You go home, and the cycle repeats. And the cycle repeats because no one taught you that her desire is not loud. It's not theatrical. It doesn't come in declarations or proposals. It comes in glances, in pauses, in the way she shifts her weight toward you when she should be leaving. It's quiet enough to ignore if you're uncertain, and it's subtle enough to miss if you're desperate. Here's what you have to understand: women are not lying to you. They're layered. Her words might say, "I'm not looking for anything serious," but her body arches closer every time you speak. She might talk about her ex, or act distracted, but then brush your arm 3 times in 5 minutes. These contradictions aren't games, they're conflicts. Inside her, 2 forces are fighting social conditioning versus raw desire. One is trying to protect her, the other is trying to connect with you. And here's the brutal truth: the part that wants you will never speak first. It will only signal. That's your job, to see it, to sense it, to read it, not to exploit it, not to ignore it, but to respond to it, as a man who knows what she wants before she dares to admit it. Most men miss this because they're taught to look for words instead of energy. They ask, "Did she say she's into me?" when the real question is, "Did her eyes widen when I leaned in?" They ask, "Should I ask her out?" instead of noticing how she keeps looking at their mouth when they talk. You've been made deaf to everything but verbal consent, and while that protects you legally, it ruins you emotionally. Because here's what no one tells you: women want to be seen, not interrogated. When she desires you, she doesn't want to be asked, she wants to be felt. She wants a man who can pick up on the shifts in her tone, the breath between her sentences, the way her shoulder brushes yours and lingers. That's her language. And if you keep translating it into literal questions, "Do you like me? Should I kiss you? Do you want to hang out again?" you flatten her mystery into awkward negotiations. But don't confuse this for seduction tactics. This is not about lines or tricks. This is about presence. You cannot read her if you are thinking about yourself. You cannot see her cues if you're caught in your insecurities. You must learn to observe without scrambling for outcomes. She's leaning in. Her pupils are wide. Her voice just dipped an octave. She touched your wrist and didn't pull back. That's your signal. Not to act recklessly, but to recognize the moment. And sometimes, the moment is just that. A moment. She may never follow up. She may pull away tomorrow. That doesn't mean you were wrong. It means she was conflicted. It means desire doesn't always win. It means your role isn't to force a result, but to meet her in that moment with full awareness and zero need. The reason most men fail to read these signals isn't stupidity, it's fear. Fear of misreading, fear of rejection, fear of being creepy. So they retreat. They pretend they didn't notice. They kill their own instincts. And in doing so, they slowly stop trusting themselves. You've probably done this. She sat close. She laughed too loud. She texted you at midnight just to ask a question, and instead of leaning into the heat, you cooled it down. You played it safe. You didn't respond until morning. You kept it friendly. And now, she's cold, distant, gone, and you tell yourself she just wasn't that into you. But she was. For a moment, she was. And you weren't there. Because no one ever told you that timing is everything. That her signals expire. that when she shows you a sliver of vulnerability through her posture, her breath, her laughter if you don't see it, she closes the door, not because she's cruel, but because you failed her test. And yes, it is a test, not a manipulative one, a biological one. She needs to know that you see her, that you're attuned enough to her energy that she doesn't have to spell it out. Because if she has to spell it out, it kills the very polarity that made her want you in the first place. That's why her body language matters more than any text, any DM, any maybe, or I'll let you know. Her body tells the truth before her mouth catches up. And if you're always waiting for the mouth, you'll always be too late. The moment isn't when she agrees to meet you. The moment is when she unconsciously leans in while pretending not to care. The moment is when she stops mid-sentence and just looks at you. The moment is when her guard drops not with words, but with breath. If you're not paying attention, you'll miss everyone. And when you miss those moments enough times, something deeper starts to erode. Not just your confidence, but your identity. You start to believe that you're not desirable, that women just don't see you that way, that maybe you're the safe one, the funny one, the dependable one, but never the one they want. You start to think there's something wrong with you, but there isn't. What's wrong is the conditioning. What's wrong is the noise in your head that keeps you guessing, doubting, overanalyzing every interaction like a nervous intern rather than responding like a grounded man. Because you were never taught to trust your gut. You were taught to second guess it. And over time, you lost the one thing that makes a man irresistible: certainty. Not arrogance, not bravado, but quiet certainty. The ability to walk into a room and see everything, to feel the tension, to read the subtle shifts, to notice the girl who's pretending not to look at you but checks her reflection the moment you glance away. You want to know what changes everything. It's not the pickup lines. It's not the clothes or the car or the height or the money. Those things help, sure, but they don't unlock the doorway to her attraction. What does is your awareness. When you're locked into the moment, fully present, her signals become obvious, painfully obvious. You realize she's been showing you signs your whole life. The girl in class who always asked for help but never needed it. The friend who sat a little too close on the couch. The woman who smiled at you at the gym. Twice. Then never looked again because you didn't approach. And here's the brutal part. She notices when you don't notice. That moment when she gives you a green light and you hesitate. It registers. It hits something deep inside her, the part that wants to surrender, but only to someone who gets it, who doesn't need to be told. And when that part of her senses your uncertainty, she locks it up again. That's why so many men live in confusion. They feel something happened, but they don't know what. They can't name it, so they dismiss it. They bury it. And years later, they wonder why they don't trust their own perception. Let me make this crystal clear. Women want to be wanted. But they don't want to explain it. They want you to feel it, to notice it, to rise to meet it without being told where the line is. And if you're still waiting for her to say it outright, you're not reading her, you're waiting to be led. And that kills attraction instantly. You know what happens when you finally start paying attention to her body language. You stop needing so much from her words. You stop overthinking every message, every emoji, every delay in response. Because now you're reading what actually matters. The in-person cues, the eye contact, the way she angles her body when you're near, the sudden softness in her tone, the micro-expression that flashes across her face when you compliment her. You stop playing a guessing game. You start seeing patterns. You realize that when she touches her neck while talking to you, that's not random. That's exposure, vulnerability. When she plays with the rim of her glass, she's not just fidgeting. She's drawing attention to her mouth. When she adjusts her posture as you approach, she's prepping to be seen. You don't need to study a textbook on kinesics. You just need to be there, eyes open, mind clear, not caught up in fantasies or fears, just there. And here's what starts happening. Your presence does the work. You don't chase, you don't perform, you just watch. You pick up the rhythm, you respond to her pull. You let the space between you two build tension, and she feels it. She feels that you're not guessing, you're seeing. That's when she opens up. That's when her guard drops. That's when her breath catches and her laugh gets softer and her eyes stay on yours longer than she meant to. Because now, finally, there's a man in front of her who knows. But most men aren't that man. Most men are stuck in their heads, replaying failures, worrying about the next move, clinging to what-ifs. That's not masculine energy, that's reactive energy. And women feel the difference instantly. You don't need to dominate a room to be that man. You just need to reclaim your awareness, that primal, clear-headed sensitivity to the moment. The same instinct that animals use to survive, except now. You use it to connect. And connection doesn't start with words. It starts with presence, with observation, with stillness. Learn to see her without asking, without needing. Just see her. And you'll realize she was never hiding. You just weren't watching. Here's where everything starts to shift when you finally stop thinking like a boy waiting for permission and start seeing like a man who understands reality. Because here's the reality, most of what you've been told about reading women is backwards. They said if she smiles, she likes you. If she compliments you, it means she's into you. If she flirts, you've got a shot. But they never taught you about context. They never warned you about social smiles, about attention-seeking behavior, about women testing the waters not out of interest, but out of boredom, insecurity, or manipulation. You've probably had a woman playfully touch your arm, compliment your shirt, lock eyes and smile and walk right into another man's arms 5 minutes later. And it made you question everything. You told yourself you were crazy for thinking there was a signal, but you weren't crazy. You were just missing half the equation. You were reading the surface, not the substance. Because here's the ugly truth, not every signal is genuine. Some are performance, some are manipulation, and some are pure reflex. She's not even aware she's doing it. This is where you need more than instinct. You need discernment. You need to look past what she's doing and feel why she's doing it. Is she touching you because she's drawn to you, or because she's used to getting male attention that way? Is her laugh a spark of real chemistry? Or is it the same hollow laugh she gives every man to stay likable? You won't know unless you're grounded. And grounding doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means being clear, unshakable, able to absorb the signal without reacting impulsively to it. When a woman sends you a signal, lingering touch, flirty eye contact, soft laugh, you don't lunge forward like a starving dog. You sit with it, you let it register. You look her in the eye, see her, and then let your body respond naturally, not out of need, but out of presence. This is where most men fail. They see the cue and they panic. They either jump on it too fast, killing the moment, or they freeze, afraid of screwing it up. Both reactions scream the same thing, uncertainty, and uncertainty repels. You want to know what actually turns her on. It's not that you noticed her signal, it's that you knew what it meant, and you didn't flinch. A man who flinches is a man who doubts himself, and women are hypersensitive to that. Not because they're cruel, but because attraction, real attraction, is not about niceness or politeness. It's about security. She wants to feel like she can relax into you, and she can't relax into someone who's mentally collapsing every time she flicks her hair or leans in. So, yes, read her body language, but don't just read it, decode it. Feel the difference between attraction and performance, between intimacy and manipulation, between genuine connection and a bored ego boost. And once you learn that difference, you become powerful in a way no amount of muscles or status can fake. Because now, you're not just a guy who notices signals, you're a man who knows what they mean. She touches her neck while talking to you, okay? But is she leaning toward you or away? Her hips are facing you good, but are her feet pointed out the door? She brushes your arm great, but does she stay there for a breath longer, or immediately pull away and laugh nervously? These tiny differences are everything. And here's where evolutionary biology cuts through the confusion women are biologically wired to filter, to test, to challenge, to protect themselves from men who don't see the difference between surface charm and real invitation. So she'll test you, she'll send one signal, then go cold, she'll lean in, then turn away, she'll compliment you, then ignore your text. Not because she's evil, but because she wants to know, are you consistent? Are you solid? Are you reading reality or projecting your hopes? The moment you start reading her body language with detached clarity, everything changes. You're no longer guessing. You're no longer reacting. You're watching, sensing, deciding. And that's what drives her crazy in the best way. Because when a woman sees a man who isn't thrown off by her signals, who notices them, but doesn't chase, who receives them, but doesn't fold, she starts to lean in harder. She starts to trust you more, not just emotionally, but physically, because her body relaxes in the presence of a man who is still. Still doesn't mean passive. It means you don't need to take anything to prove something. You don't need to extract attention to feel worthy. You don't need her desire to validate your existence. You're a mirror, she signals. You reflect, calmly, accurately, unmoved. And that more than any game, tactic, or trick is what makes her want you. And when she wants you, really wants you, she starts to lose control over those subtle signals. That's the paradox. The more she tries to contain it, the more her body gives her away. Her pupils stay dilated, her breathing changes. She finds reasons to touch you, brush against you, stand too close in a space that doesn't require it. She might fidget with her clothes, bite her lip, or break eye contact the moment she feels too exposed, because that's how raw the attraction feels. But if you're not calm, if you're watching through the lens of insecurity, you won't trust what you see. You'll dismiss it as your imagination. You'll downplay it because you've been burned before. And instead of stepping into that tension with grounded confidence, you'll avoid it. Because most men don't fear rejection. They fear being wrong about being wanted. Think about that. You're not afraid of her saying no. You're afraid of looking like a fool for thinking she wanted to say yes. That fear is what paralyzes you. That fear is what convinces you to act casual, detached, even when you feel the heat rising between you. And the cost, you miss the moment. Here's where it gets darker when you miss that moment enough times. You stop believing they exist. You start thinking women only want the aggressive guys, the tall guys, the rich ones, the ones who don't care. You build an entire worldview around the belief that women don't desire you, not the real you. And the pain of that lie runs deep, because the truth is you were desired, but you didn't know how to hold it, not with neediness, not with arrogance, but with presence. The kind of presence that makes her body soften, her defenses drop, her signals sharpen. That's when the real connection begins, not when she says, "I like you," but when her entire nervous system orients toward you. And that moment, it can't be forced, it can't be hacked, it can't be manufactured with fake eye contact or mimicking gestures or alpha male chest puffing. It comes when you're no longer seeking validation from her signals. That's the part most men don't get. The more you need her to show interest, the less likely you are to see it when she does. Why? Because your fear twists your perception. It makes you blind to her attraction, or worse, it makes you exaggerate her interest just to soothe your ego. You either don't believe her signals, or you invent them. And in both cases, you're not seeing her. You're just seeing your own wounds projected outward. You want to change that. Then you need to face the part of yourself that's still starving for approval. The part that needs her desire to confirm that you matter, that you're enough, that you're wanted. Because as long as you carry that hunger into every interaction, you'll never read her clearly. You'll either overreact or underreact. You'll either jump too fast or freeze completely, and she'll feel it. She'll feel that you're not steady, that you're not watching her, you're watching yourself in her eyes, hoping for permission to believe in your worth. Women don't respond to that. They respond to a man who doesn't flinch. And that kind of man, he doesn't wait for perfect clarity before he moves. He moves with the tension. He acts from the subtle, grounded awareness that says, I see you, I sense you, and I'm not afraid of what that means. She leans in, he holds the gaze, she brushes his hand. He doesn't jump, doesn't pull away, doesn't overanalyze. He just lets the moment breathe. That's power, quiet, unshakable. And she feels it, because her body doesn't trust words, it trusts energy. It trusts the way you carry yourself, the way you handle uncertainty, the way you stay rooted when her signals are messy, mixed, or sudden. If you can't hold tension, you can't hold her. And that's what women want more than anything, a man who can hold them without gripping them. So next time you think she's giving you a signal, she probably is. The question is, can you receive it without needing it? Can you stay calm when it happens? Can you let it land? Look her in the eyes and let her know without words that you see her and you're not going anywhere unless she tells you to. Because when you can do that, when your nervous system stops flinching at every sign of female interest, you become dangerous in the best possible way. You're no longer trying to earn attraction, you're just reading it, responding to it, letting it unfold on its own terms, and that changes everything. And this is where you begin to realize that the ultimate shift is not in her, it's in you. The way you see, the way you feel, the way you move, the way you don't move when you don't need to. Because once you truly understand her body language, not just the gestures, but the timing, the rhythm, the emotional charge you begin to see through every lie you were told about attraction, you realize it was never about chasing. It was never about trying harder. It was never about being the nice guy, the bad boy, the rich one, or the mysterious one. It was about being aware of her energy, aware of your own, aware of the game beneath the game, the unspoken tension, the pauses that hold more meaning than any sentence, the flash of vulnerability in her eyes before she looks away. Most men rush in with questions, validation seeking, trying to get a clear answer. You don't. You lean back into the silence. You let her reveal herself slowly, one cue at a time. And when she does, when her shoulders relax, when her breath deepens, when her gaze lingers, you don't jump. You notice. You let her attraction unfold like a wave. You don't chase it. You don't demand it. You ride it calm, centered, and present. And then something wild happens. She starts to trust you, not because you said the right thing, but because you didn't need to. She trusts you because you're not looking for her signals to fix something broken inside you. You're not asking her to rescue you from loneliness, insecurity, or self-doubt. You're just there, watching, listening, responding. You become rare. And in a world full of men trying to impress, trying to perform, trying to be liked, you stand still. And that stillness, it draws her in. Because most women are starving for a man who actually sees them without trying to control them. A man who recognizes their desire without being afraid of it, without being obsessed with it, without twisting it into a transaction. When you become that man, her body speaks louder. Her tension melts. Her signals stop being tests and start being invitations. And you won't need a manual or a checklist, you'll just know. She walks into the room and your gut tightens. She flicks her hair and your pulse quickens. She doesn't need to say anything. You already feel it. Not because you're magical, but because you've reclaimed the part of yourself that was never broken, just silenced. This is what they never taught you. Not your parents, not school, not dating coaches, not even your friends. Because most men never made it far enough past their own doubt to see what's really happening when a woman wants them. But now you do. Now you know that her body will say it before her lips ever do. That her attraction is primal, ancient, messy, and beautiful. That her signals are not games, they're glimpses into a version of her that is waiting for someone strong enough to see it, hold it, and not ruin it, ruin. And when you see it, when you feel it and you don't flinch, everything changes. You don't panic when she sends mixed signals, because you can feel which ones are real. You don't chase after cold responses, because you can read when the warmth is gone. You don't lose sleep over silence, because you only respond to what is emotionally true. That's when you become free, free from overthinking, free from performing, free from rejection, anxiety. You no longer ask, does she like me? You ask, what is her body telling me right now? You no longer beg for a yes. You calmly respond to the signal when it's there, when it's real. And when it's not, you walk quietly, completely, without resentment. Because you're not here to convince her. You're here to connect. And connection doesn't beg. It feels, it listens. It watches. It holds the line. You don't just read her body. You read her energy, her rhythm, her silence. And in that space, you don't just become a man she desires. You become a man she remembers. Not because you were the loudest, not because you tried the hardest, but because you were the first to see her without asking her to explain who she is. She didn't break you. She revealed what you were too afraid to protect.